Hey guys, it's Alison Glue and I'm here to show you 5 really simple steps to get really fast at changing chords on time. It's one of the questions I get asked all the time from students is, you know, I can play, I know where to put my fingers, but I just can't swap between my chord changes very fast. So for me, I have 5 really simple ways that I teach my students that are guaranteed to speed up your playing, okay, within one session. It's mental how fast it works. So I'm going to show you today how to do this. So first of all, you've got to have a look at your song or whatever you're trying to play and work out what chord are you actually stopping for. So, you know, is it a C chord? Are you going onto your C and you're walking your fingers on? Are they coming on one by one like this? And that's a fairly common thing when you're first starting. So choose your tricky chord. That's the first thing. Then what we're going to do is really boring and tedious, okay, and it's something we don't want to do, but we're just going to go on and off 10 times. Now treat this like you're doing sit-ups or something at the gym. So we're going to pull our fingers off and then come back down onto the strings. Now when you come off, don't cheat, okay? We don't want this kind of like little action going on. We really want to confuse your fingers so that when they're coming on, they're having to find the strings. Now this repetition is going to really speed up your playing. Now what tends to happen as adults is we do it 4 times. We go, okay, yep, I've done this, done it 4 times, I'm good. I'm good now, I intellectually get that. And it's a bit of a problem because we need the mass repetition for it to actually work. So really count it out. Count 10 times as you're doing it. If you're finding it's not really working for you at 10 times, do 15, okay? But it's a bit of a magic number. I find it all the time with students that it's really tricky to start with and you get to about 10 repetitions and then all of a sudden your fingers know where to go and they're actually going there much quicker than they were before. So now what we're going to do, once we've done that 10 times, the next one I like to call is the hover. Now this is much more difficult if you're a beginner and you haven't got a lot of muscle tone and strength in your hands, but it's awesome. It's really, really awesome for getting that. So once you're on your C chord, say if that's your tricky chord, what we're going to do is just bring your fingers off the fretboard just by a few millimeters and then set them back down. And we're going to do that 10 times as well. So we pull them off the fretboard and then we sit them back down. Now, what usually happens is as we bring them off, we'll get a drifter, okay? We'll get one that kind of does its own thing and starts to hop down. What we're trying to do, our body's pretty clever, is it's trying to get back to a natural hand position. So we have to really teach it to hold itself in midair in this really bizarre position. Because if you have a look when I'm changing chords, if I'm going from say a G to a C chord, I'm on my G chord, and then I'm swapping in midair to a C and then coming down. So that's where that speed comes up very quickly. If you know how to hold a C chord in midair and you're actually able to hover up and you can hold that third finger up high, or say it's a D chord, you know, you're not having this finger sort of drift down, that's going to speed up your playing immensely. It's just super, super quick. Now, the other thing that usually happens when you're first starting and you're learning your chords is they walk, okay? They walk on one by one. So the third thing in this series of tips to get really quick is we're going to do what I call backwards fingers. So if they're walking on 1, 2, 3, we're going to look at that and say, okay, well, which one's the slowest finger? Which one's going on last? Usually it's your third finger, right? So usually we go 1, 2, 3 as they walk on. So what we want to do is go 3, 2, 1 and actually walk them on backwards. So if you're doing a D chord and you're walking it on this way, we're going to walk it on backwards. Now this is usually really a bit weird, okay, because our mind has worked the pattern out based on going in this order. So it's really good for working out exactly where to put your fingers for a certain chord. But it also makes your slowest finger your fastest finger. So if you think about it, if your chord change is half a second off and you can make that slow finger your fastest one, all of a sudden you're changing your chords on time. So that's what we want, okay? So first of all, we've chosen our tricky chord. Then we've gone on and off 10 times, really stretching our fingers out. Then what we've done is the little hover, where we've hovered above the strings. And then we've gone backwards fingers. Now by this stage, if we've done all of those 10 times, you know, you've practiced that chord 30 times, which is awesome. Now what we're going to do is do the swap. Now this is the last one in this little series of practice exercises for chord changing. But if you're having a look at your song and you're going, okay, well I'm going from a D to a C, we practice that change. That's the part that's slowing you down. So we go on to our D chord, and then we practice swapping to a C, and then we go back, C to D, C to D, C to D, and we go back and forth. Now what you'll find is you might be on a D chord and you go to a C and all of your fingers drop down like this, and then they walk on. So what we want to do is go, well, where's this guy supposed to go? He's supposed to head on up here. So we're going to try to make him go up there. Now this is where all of those other exercises come in, okay? So we've done backwards fingers. We know that it's supposed to go up in the air. Say if you're going from a C to an A minor, you might look at that change and go, oh, I've just realised I tucked this finger under. I don't have to move anything else. I don't have to take them all off and put them back down. So doing those exercises all together, on and off, sorry, what was it? The hover, backwards fingers, and doing a swap. If you do those 10 times each, you've practiced your tricky chord 40 times. Now if you do that, say 5 times a week, you've practiced that chord 200 times. You will absolutely be faster. I guarantee it. There is absolutely no way you can't be. Now to do this exercise properly, it takes about 5 minutes if you're starting out and you're not very quick at your chords. So it's not long. Once you have done this a few times, you are going to be faster. And the weird thing is it doesn't just work for the chord you're working on, it's actually going to work for all of your chords. Because the weird thing is it's nothing to do with that particular chord. It's getting the dexterity in your hand and getting that under control. So once we've got that, you're sorted. You can actually find that, you know, maybe your D and G and C chord are getting really quick, and then all of a sudden you can start to play B7s a lot easier, and you know, you can get to all these weird chord shapes much faster. So that's my top tips to get playing a hell of a lot quicker. I hope it helps. Give some feedback. I'd love to see how you go. Good luck.